So this is an example how, in an obvious way, they meet together. Most of the time, we don't know. Sometimes a person ends up in a certain place, and he doesn't know himself, what was I doing here? Or why did I have to be there on that day? These are mystical plans that the Almighty, the Creator, has set in motion, and therefore a person ends up in a certain place in a certain time. He met a certain other person. It's called Ma'ashem Mitzadei Gever Kenoni, that the steps of a person is destined from above. That's the union of Hashgacha Pratis, divine providence. So this is also, if we would have the Arizal, or a Mekubal, a Kabbalist who would know all the different secrets, he would say, you know what? You were in the right time, in the right place. Because it all goes together. Each one contributes to the other. Person, time, and place contribute to each other, enhance each other, and add a certain shleimus, a certain completion, a certain shleimus to the person, to each of the factors. When we speak about time, place, and person, after mentioning the example of Yom Kippur, so this also reflects in dimensions, also 3 dimensions. And we'll explain how they coincide with time, place, and person. Or actually, place, time, and person. Elam, Shana, Nefesh. There's a concept in Chassidus called Nikuda, Kav, Shetach. These are 3 dimensions. Geometry. Nikuda means a dot. Kav means a line, a vertical line. And Shetach means an area. A certain demography, a certain area. If it's a rectangle, a square, a circle, it's a certain area. It's called Shetach, an area, territory. These are 3 different concepts. Nikuda and Kav and Shetach, one is a dot, one is a line, which means the beginning of a line, a vertical line, begins with a yud, which is the dot. Then the yud is drawn down, it becomes a vav. And when the vav is extended in the length and the breadth, it becomes a hey. So you have over here 3 letters, a yud, a vav, and a hey. What are these 3 letters? These 3 letters are the origins of Nikuda, Kav, and Shetach. These 3 letters are from the 4 letters of the Almighty's name. And there is actually 4 letters in the Almighty's name, but according to Kabbalah, we do not count, when we discuss this topic, we do not include the first hey, so we include the second hey. So it is Nikuda, Kav, and Shetach. A dot, and then there's a line, and then there is a diagram. These are the letters of Yud, K, and Vav. Which means that everything in this physical world is a reflection and a parable to understand how they are in the higher worlds. For example, Chassidus explains, when Chassidus explains a certain matter, whatever it should be, starts explaining it on a spiritual level. What is the point of that? The point of that is that we want to understand what is the source of this physical object in this physical world. It comes from above. It is an example, a reflection, and a chain reaction from its roots on a spiritual level. An example for that is, an interesting example that Hasidus brings, is a rooster. A physical rooster in this physical world finds itself in this physical world which is called Elam Asiya Hagashmi. This physical world, not just the world Asiya, but the physical Asiya. There's 2 levels in Asiya. There's a spiritual Asiya and there's a physical Asiya. The rooster finds itself in this physical world. Where does it come from? It has a source on a higher level. But the source on a higher level is on a very spiritual level that does not have the physical features that this rooster has. But it's accomplishing the same function. Who is on a higher world, and not just on a higher world, way higher, in Elam Habriya? It is a malach that's called Gabriel. The angel of Gabriel is the Gever in Elam Habriya. in the world of Bria. Now, what do these two have in common? Chassidus explains if the rooster would see Gabriel, it would be frightened to death. So what do they have in common? The answer is, since it is not something in a physical sense, it is their functions that they have in common. That's one way of explaining and reflecting something physical, how it is in a higher world on a spiritual level. What is the function of Gabriel? He wakes up souls in midnight to study Torah with the Almighty. Every night, the Eibishter studies Torah, the Almighty studies Torah with the neshamas, with the souls in Gan Eden, in the Garden of Eden. What does a rooster do here? A few hours later, it wakes up people in the morning, early morning. Both are doing the same idea, waking up. One is in a physical sense, a physical rooster, waking up human beings in this physical world, and one is Malach Gabriel waking up the souls, the angel Gabriel. The same way we can also understand that when we say that this physical world has a certain physical object, a certain physical item or whatever, a creation, it has a source in one of the letters of Hashem's name. Either it's a Yud, or it's a Hey, or it's a Vav, or it's a Kei. Because generally the four letters of Hashem's name include and is the source for everything that is in this physical world. Mitzvahs, all the mitzvahs are included in one of the letters of Hashem's name. Yud relates to Krishma. The first Hey relates to Tefillin. The Vav relates to Tzitzis. The second Hey relates to Tefillah, to prayer. It's all relating to all the mitzvahs are included in Yud Kei Vav Kei. So therefore, when we say Nikude Kav Shetach, that there is a dot and there is a line and there is a diagram, which is how it descends from one level to another, these are the three letters of Yud, Vav, and Kei. The Yud is the dot, the Vav is the vertical line, and the Hey is already where it reaches, into a certain specific frame. To talk about it, to discuss it in a broader sense, the Yud Kei Vav Kei as a whole name, with all the four letters, actually reflects the relationship between a teacher and a student. And that is a four-step procedure. The first thing is Yud. When a teacher has to relate a certain concept, which is a very deep, comprehensive a very abstract concept, which he feels the student does not have the background to understand it, so he has to simplify it in his mind in order to be able to deliver it to the student. And he's only going to take a part of it, in just a part of it, in order to share with the student, because the student is not a vessel to receive the whole it's in its entirety. So what happens then is that everything in the mind of the teacher is darkened. The only thing that remains is one dot that shines in his mind, that he will need to relate that to the student. And as it's mentioned in Chassidus, based on Kabbalah, that only a tenth of what is in the mind of the teacher is relayed to the student. The student only receives a 10% of what the teacher, how the teacher really understands this on their level. It's based on Kabbalah, because Kabbalah is also the 10 attributes, which is the one that descends to the lower level, only one, the lowest, Malchus. So therefore it's the same thing also. Every hashpah, every flow, from a giver to receiver, it's only the 10%, the last one that's given over. So this is the Yud. The Yud is the dot that remains shining in the teacher's mind, that the teacher will eventually have to give this over to the student, the way it's packaged in the mind of the